Good afternoon once again. I'm sure that was a quick 20 minutes, probably, but just to try to keep us on schedule because there are more sessions yet this afternoon. I want to welcome you back again, and hopefully you had enjoyed the lunch and the food. As Dean of the Monfort College of Business, I want to again thank you for being here for the Money Management, Marketing, and Me, a Women's Forum. And I gave a couple minutes here, we have one here, one there, one over there. It really is a women's forum. I tried to tell our students and our faculty men that they could come, that just because it had the word women in it didn't mean that men were not allowed. But it doesn't seem that they took my word for it. This forum was initially conceived by Lynn Karowski, who's director of our Monfort Executive Professor Program, and is sitting right directly in the back there. And Sharon Kleinbell, and who's the assistant dean of the College of Business, Charmaine Collum, who's one of our CIS faculty members, and again independently by the Office of the Students in Free Enterprise Club and Holly Langsdorff. I want to thank all of them and the whole committee, because I know Nikki Ellsbury was on it, and a number of others who were out here. I want to thank all of them for all the work that you did to put this together and to bring in such a great list of speakers. So please give a warm round of applause to our committee. I also want to thank Carol Peterson, who's wandering around in the back, for her, now she runs to sit down, for all of her hard work and anticipating and planning all of the details for this event today. So again, thank you, Carol. Before I introduce our speaker, I just want to take a couple of minutes to bring you up to date on a few things that have been happening at the College of Business here in the Monfort College of Business on UNC's campus. We have a number of student groups who have been doing some pretty exciting things. The Students in Free Enterprise group just recently captured the regional championship, and they are now eligible to compete for the SIFE National Championship in Minneapolis. That will be occurring later on this late spring, early summer, I believe it is. We have a group of finance students who also placed second in national competition at the Financial Management Association International Leaders Conference in Chicago just a couple of weeks ago. We're working on our new Masters in Accounting program, and we hope to offer that in the fall. That is now being discussed by the CCHE here in the state of Colorado. And we hope to hear soon that will be passed. It will prepare our students for the requirements of becoming a certified public accountant and enable them to receive an undergraduate degree and a graduate degree in accounting in 5 years. And for those who are not in the accounting profession, they need 150 credit hours for the CPA, and not just 120 credit hours that students get to get the degree, so that's where the extra degree comes in. We will also be celebrating a very exciting event, and it's on the back of your program if you haven't noticed it, but it's the Decade of Excellence on May 21st at Coors Field in Denver. For the past 10 years, the Monfort Family and Monfort Family Foundation have provided resources that have helped build an exceptional program here at Monfort College of Business, in addition to what they provide to the university as a whole. And we believe it's time to celebrate the naming of our college. So it was 10 years ago that we were named the Monfort College of Business. And again, if you'd like to find out more, there's information on the back. There's a website right down at the bottom of that you can go to get more information about that event. It's a fundraising event. It's going to be a fun event. There's no sit-down dinner. It's a networking event. There's all food and drink that will be included with the price. Our goal is to have 1,000 people at that event. So we're excited about it, and we hope that you'll come and consider buying tickets for that. Again, that's May 21st. Now, for the speaker, our next speaker. Our Business Plus Luncheon Series speaker is Diane Fannon. She's a principal for brand management with the Richards Group in Dallas, Texas, the largest independent advertising agency in North America. She has spent most of her career in the creative discipline of the advertising business, beginning in New York at Gray Advertising as a copywriter. She moved to Tracy Locke at Dallas, where she spent 8 years developing award-winning creative work for Frito-Lay, Hager, the Dallas Morning News, Phillips Petroleum, Taco Bell, and Pepsi, becoming Senior Vice President and Senior Creative Director in 1985. With 9 more years of creative responsibility at Bosel, and again at Tracy Locke as Executive Creative Director, she added Hogan, Tabasco, JCPenney, Adams Golf, and Budget Rent-A-Car to her previous list. Diane joined the Richards Group as brand manager for Fruit of the Loom, Home Depot, the Salvation Army, and new business development. The Richards Group has created and protected the brands of some of the biggest companies in America, including Home Depot, Motel 6, Sub-Zero, and Chick-fil-A. She also trained and mentored Holly B. Weaver, who has helped us out with a lot of our marketing and promotion for this event, as well as other events for the College of Business. And so I would like to, and Holly was instrumental in bringing Diane here today. So with no more pause and action here, I think I'll bring Diane up to the stage. Would you please welcome Diane Fannon for our next presentation.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Holly. We met many years ago. I hear the year 1985 and it freaks me out a little bit. There aren't as many students in the room who go, when? So thank you. And thank you all for being here today. I hope that at the end of lunch, as you're headed back to your offices, or for the students headed back to classes, or for those of you who are sticking around for the Women's Forum, I hope you look back and say that it was time well spent, and not just because the food was good, which it was. My topic today is branding yourself in a tough economy. But the principles apply in both good times and in bad times. Every brand, whether a personal brand or a business brand, should be built to weather the ups and downs of the market that Kate took you through earlier. As a matter of fact, many studies have proved that if you wait until a crisis to pay attention to your brand, that there's very little chance that any effort that you put in once the crisis is hit will have an impact against brands who have been building their brands over time. Before we get into the discipline of branding, and it is a true discipline, let me share 2 things with you. First, the journey that led me to be so passionate about branding. It's a cautionary tale to those students in the room, perhaps. Perhaps a familiar, well-trodden path for those of you who have tried a lot of different things before you found something that you love. And a bit of amusement for those of you who have always known what you wanted to do and just went out and did it. And the second thing that I'd like to share with you is a little bit about the branding agency for whom I work. So let's start with a snapshot of my career path. And Rhea and I were comparing notes last night, and plan is a 4-letter word that I've never really entertained. So let me show you a snapshot of my career path. It's not your typical linear ascent, and I never really thought about it this way, to be honest with you, until I left advertising for a 5-year diversion. Came back, and I asked a couple of friends of mine, a very talented creative team, to come up with a card that I could send out to friends and associates to let them know what I was up to. And they returned with that, and a caption that read, Diane Fannon's career path. And I looked at it, and at first, I have to admit, I was a little hurt. I thought, wow, I've known these two for years, and that's how they see me, as unfocused and without direction and chaotic. And then I thought about it a little bit longer, and I thought, well, it's kind of true. I mean, it is how I attacked the working world. So let me share that with you. Career number 1 was teaching 1st grade fresh out of school. Probably the best preparation I could have ever had for the world of advertising. I had to keep a room full of 24 6-year-olds entertained for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. I had to be a good listener. I had to be creative. I had to be inspiring. And talk about presentation skills. If you can keep a room full of 6-year-olds entertained and engaged for 7 hours, I guarantee you, you are qualified to face a room full of clients. It's about the same thing. I try not to tell them to shut up and sit down, but sometimes that happens. So newly married, I moved to New York, couldn't find a teaching job, and pounded the pavements. And started short-lived career number 2, when I landed a job as an assistant to a merchandise manager in a sportswear company in the Garment District. I worked for a guy who taught me that you could be a complete moron and still pull down a pretty good salary. Not a lesson I was looking to learn, but I learned it nonetheless. Hated it and moved on. I interviewed with an ad agency, and I accepted their offer for a secretarial position in account service and began career number 3. I love the business. I fell in love with the business. I fell in love with the creativity, the characters, and the chaos. And by the way, I think some of you may be able to appreciate the fact that the reason that I took the job as a secretary, because when I said I had a 4-year college degree, there was a bit of a yawn and a, yeah, how fast can you type? But that's because of those 1985, 1970 dates. That's just the era that we grew up in. So career number 4 began after 3 months when I moved into broadcast production in that same ad agency. And I quickly learned that if a commercial is brilliant, it's because the writer and the art director are brilliant. Right, Holly? And if the commercial stunk, it's because the producer was an idiot and took a brilliant idea and screwed it up. So what did I do? I became a writer. So career number 5 began at Gray Advertising when I was hired as a junior writer, working on Kenner toys and Playtex tampons, making sure that I did not confuse the two at any time. I stayed in that career for about 18 years, working at Tracy Locke in Dallas for most of that time, with a brief stint at what is now TM Advertising. And I always describe advertising as the most fun you can have and get a paycheck. But I had the opportunity to broaden my skill set by running a photography division of a company called the Image Bank. It was an international job, and it encompassed strategic planning, creative direction, marketing, and operations. And it was a learning experience I wouldn't trade for anything. And it lasted for about 5 years. But I missed advertising, and I was lured back to begin career number 7, which was account management. And at 11 years and counting as a principal at the Richards Group, I've settled into a really interesting role that combines all the things I love about building strong, powerful brands. A proclivity for strategy, a passion for outstanding creative, and making a difference in a client's business, because that's what we're here to do. At the Richards Group, I'm responsible for brands like the Home Depot, so go improve your homes, Fruit of the Loom, I won't tell you what to do there, the Salvation Army, and the Body Shop, in addition to spearheading our new business efforts. And I do all of that at an agency that excels at brand building. We have a branding process that always leads us to a simple, powerful idea. I'm going to give you a few examples of what we've helped our clients accomplish. 16 years ago, we went to work for the Home Depot. And 16 years ago, the Home Depot was a regional retailer. And they have since grown into the 2nd largest retailer in the country, behind only Walmart, and the 3rd largest retailer in the world. And we helped them grow through putting our branding process to work and building their brand around the know-how that is yours for the asking, whether it's through their associates, their website, or their 1, 2, 3 books. And that helps the Home Depot, giving you know-how, helps you take on home improvement projects and give you the confidence to take on ever larger, more demanding, and consequently more expensive home improvement projects. For Fruit of the Loom, and somebody tell me if these slides aren't keeping up with me because I'm not looking back. For Fruit of the Loom, a 10-year client, our branding process led us to bring back those icons. and they had been shelved 12 years earlier. And we put the branding process to work and brought them back. We contemporized them, we endeared the brand once again to American consumers, and helped the company emerge from bankruptcy and regain its rightful position as the #1 brand of underwear in America. Now they're owned by Warren Buffett, so I think they're on pretty solid ground. 16 years ago, we went to work for Chick-fil-A, now a 1,300 store chicken chain. And I understand from conversations last night, growing here in the North Colorado area. They're outspent 20-1 by their nearest hamburger competitors. They don't discount, and of all things, they're closed on Sundays. Our branding process led us to enlist renegade cows, who, in enlightened self-interest, advise people to eat more chicken. Pretty simple idea. But for the past 14 years, we've driven double-digit sales increases every year since those cows hit the street in a category that is flat or slightly declining. 4 years ago, we were hired by Bridgestone Tires. And through our branding process, we helped them reach a new milestone. In 2007, they surpassed Goodyear as the #1 selling tire in America, a position that Goodyear had held since 1916. It's 1916. So a pretty big milestone for Bridgestone. And while we're most proud of that, we're also proud of the fact that for 3 Super Bowls running, we have had a place in the top 10 most liked commercials in the USA annual poll. 2 of those years sitting atop at #1, so we're pretty proud of that. 14 years ago, we were hired by Corona Beer. Their business had been devastated by a rumor that flashed across the country. There's no polite way to tell you this rumor. But due to labor unrest, workers were peeing in the vats. You can imagine what that did to their business and their sales. And that was the point at which we were hired. Well, you don't fight those rumors with advertising. That's a no-win situation. So we put our branding process to work and in order to build that reputation. And we arrived at a simple, powerful idea that every time you pop the top off a bottle of Corona beer, it transports you to some peaceful, idyllic place in the Caribbean. On our 12-year watch, Corona became the #1 imported beer in the U.S., passing Heineken, who had had that position since Prohibition, which led Heineken to hire us for their Amstel brand when our Corona contract expired. So now our challenge is to have Amstel unseat Corona. And finally, over 24 years ago, our branding process helped turn Motel 6, a nearly bankrupt hotel chain, into a category powerhouse by celebrating the virtues of frugality, by making frugality cool. Today, virtually everyone in the country knows Tom Bodett in the words, "We'll leave the light on for you." Let me show you what happens when you focus on a single, powerful branding idea and execute it consistently across all points of customer contact, year after year after year.
And I'll buy a vowel again. U, please.
Yes, 1 U. 600.
Y.
1 pi. Get close to 4,000. 600.
W.
1 W. 600.
L.
4 L's. Almost $7,000.
I'll solve.
Go ahead.
We'll leave the light on for you.
Yeah, that's... Now, remember that category is slogan. You already have over $13,000. You're going to have $3,000 to your total. You can tell us whose slogan that is. Any idea?
Motel 6?
Yeah!
That was not a product placement, by the way. That was just them deciding that was a good slogan to put in a photo. Our work for Motel 6 was named by Ad Age as one of the 100 best campaigns of the past 100 years. Well, since everybody likes to watch a little TV, hopefully, otherwise my business is dead. How many people like to watch TV? Okay, I'm going to show you commercials, so you don't get to zap past any of them. I brought a reel of some of the work that we've done to help our clients build their brand, so let's take a look at that.
drivers who want to get the most out of their cars. It's Bridgestone or nothing.
What do you say to a spin around the color wheel? The paint with primer already mixed in. Test samples instead of canned commitments. What do you say we dip into our wallets less and grab a hold of the latest tools out there so we can quit all that messing around with extra steps and get busy turning our doing dials up a notch? More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
Hello, everyone. Glamorous Susanucci here. People often ask me, Susanucci, you are so glamorous. Your teeth are so white, and your hair, how it shines. What is your secret? My beauty secret. I, Susanucci, eat chicken. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Oh, how I love all my chicken.
Daddy wears his t-shirt in the cold Kentucky rain, while a boy in pure white briefs looks out the foggy window pane. And even though his hamster died, he finds comfort, this I swear, 'cause you can't overlove your underwear. 'Cause comfort ain't just found in teddy bears. There's no labels hanging anywhere. No, you can't ever overlove your underwear.
Hi. Beautiful night. Mind if I join you? Are we dipping skinny?
Loves one in, Orchid keeps them out. He finds them, he deals with them. He makes sure they don't come back. Orchid, keeping pests in their place.
Peter 10:17.
Ruth 2:11.
James 11:9.
When I was hungry. When I was lost. When I was stoned.
You gave me help.
Faith.
Joy.
You gave me a chance. Amanda 4:6. When I was saved.
Every day, lives are restored when you support the Salvation Army.
Georgia Power is looking for ways to help people save energy. Dogs, it's pretty obvious to me. They can be trained to sniff out energy waste using their natural dog instincts.
Rufus, no.
Okay, take your thermostat. You want to make sure it's set at 78 in summer, 68 in winter. You can save yourself up to $100 a year. Even changing light bulbs can help. Check this out. George, which one's more efficient? Compact fluorescent. He picked it. Right there. He picked compact fluorescent.
No time for lunch? Pick up the new turkey and cheddar from Quick Trip. Think quick.
Hi, Tom Bodette for 1-800-4-Motel-6, our new reservation number. Now, to remember it, think of that 1 as an I, then I-8. And those look like 2 eggs. Now, say you ate those eggs for your cousin Mo, then tell 6 people. There you have it. I ate 2 eggs for Mo, Motel 6. Works for me. Well, I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
artificially brewed for a taste that is pure Amsterdam. Amstel Light, one damn good beer.
Papa, we can do this, man. You can be okay. You can be okay.
What's a bachelor party?
For drivers who want to get the most out of their cars, it's Bridgestone or nothing. Truck of the second. The eternal. Truck of the 5-degree night. The 100-year rain. The heavens and the earth. Truck of the unstoppable. The unthinkable. The longest mile. The last rest stop. Truck of the free and the brave. Truck of the minute. The hour. The season. Truck of the year.
By the way, PETA gave us a Goodie Award for not using a real killer whale in that Bridgestone commercial. Like that would happen. So that's a result of the branding process that we put to work for some of our clients, actually for all of our clients. So what is this branding process that I keep referring to? Well, it's a process we call spherical branding. And as I said in the beginning, it's as applicable to an individual as it is to what you traditionally think of as a brand. It's as applicable to a small business as it is to a huge retailer. What we tell our clients is that of all things they own, sorry, my voice has chosen this moment to break up. Of all the things they own, nothing is as important as their brand. Nothing's as valuable, nothing's as enduring. Founders die, buildings burn down, stores get outdated, technology becomes obsolete, patents expire, copyrights go into the public domain. Only one thing never expires, and that's a brand, your brand. So what exactly is a brand anyway? A brand is a promise. For clients, it's a promise that's conveyed to consumers by everything that they observe and everything they experience. The brand name, the logo, the size, color, typography on the packaging, the typography of their logo, the news articles, customer service, the kind of people who use the brand, the internet, and yes, advertising. For you individually, it's a promise conveyed by your actions. Everything you do, the way you choose to dress, the way you talk to people, the way you treat people, and maybe even more critical to your brand today, the way you communicate when you're not there in person. Your email, your voicemail recording, your Facebook, your Twitter, every single one of those reflect your brand. And that's why consistency is so critical. That's why the Motel 6's campaign has been the same for 24 years. We believe that inconsistency, in fact, is the reason that most brands fail, or a lot of brands fail, to build strength and endure. That's because you can't achieve consistency until you reach conviction behind the brand strategies: brand vision, brand positioning, brand personality, and brand affiliation. There are three distinct parts to our spherical branding process. The very first step at the core of our spherical branding process is to reach consensus of conviction, as I mentioned, on a definition of the business that you are in. Why, you may ask, is articulating the business that you're in so important? Well, it's important because many brands and companies have gone out of business because they inaccurately defined their brand. Let me give you an example. For the younger people in the audience, and there aren't, well, I don't want to say there aren't too many, but it doesn't look like there's too many students here. That's a typewriter. Underwood dominated typewriters with a 90% market share in their day. But where are they now? They're gone. Gone because they defined their business as manufacturing typewriters rather than providing word processing, which may have kept them alive a little longer. Others have prospered because their business definition gave them a perspective that kept them alert to the changes they would have to make over time, or the expansions that they would need to make with their brand over time. Disney, for example, is not in the business of theme parks and movies, but rather they define their business as keeping alive the magic of childhood. The last example I'll give you is for Motel 6 because that's the example I'll use for the remaining branding strategies. Now, Motel 6 could be about offering cheap lodging, but that's neither very aspirational nor inspirational, which a brand needs to be. So a long time ago, we defined the brand vision for Motel 6 as making a comfortable night's stay on the road an affordable possibility for anyone. So you have to ask yourself, or ask your small company, if it's a small company that you have, what is your brand's vision? What's your purpose? What's your higher calling? Why do you get out of bed every morning? That is your brand vision. The next layer outside the brand vision contains our 3 branding strategies: brand positioning, brand personality, and brand affiliation. I'm going to quickly take you through an explanation of each, starting with positioning. Our brand positioning template is pretty basic, and there's nothing magical about it. We use a standard packaged goods formula where we define the target market, the consumer's frame of reference, and the most compelling benefit that that product, service, or brand provides. And it's structured like this. It's a little bit like gobbledygook, but it's to target market, X is the frame of reference, that the most compelling benefit. So while there's no magic to the formula, there should be some magic in the words that we use to complete that formula. Let's start with how we think about the target market. When defining a target for a brand, we want to have a definition that's broad enough to include as many people as possible so we can either meet or exceed our business goals, but focused enough so that we can create an emotional connection with that target market. And we don't just describe the target in demographics. If you just describe your target in demographics, you're missing out on the emotional connection. We dig much deeper and gain an understanding of the consumer mindset and tend to describe the target in the terms of a lifestyle or values. For example, the Motel 6 target could be defined as cheap people or people without financial means. But that's too narrow, and in fact, it's too narrow-minded. When you drive into a Motel 6, you're as likely to see BMWs and Mercedes, believe it or not, as you are to see the old beaters that you expect to see there. And that's because there's one commonality that threads those people together, and that's frugality. That is their desire to be frugal with the money that they spend. And they're proud of that frugality. Therefore, our target description for Motel 6 is frugal people. So that's who the advertising is directed at. If you stay at the Ritz, you're probably not going to stay at a Motel 6. Now think of the frame of reference as how consumers would describe your competitive set. Or, for your personal brand, your competitive set as it applies to others who do the same things that you do. Because that's where you're going to build your brand's business from. For Motel 6, it could simply be hotels and motels. But again, that's too narrow. That's because our target doesn't just sleep in hotels and motels. They sleep on Aunt Millie's couch. Or truck drivers sometimes sleep in their rigs. And it's our job not only to steal share from hotels and motels, but to get those truck drivers out of their rigs into a Motel 6, and you and your family off of Aunt Millie's couch and away from the cat fur balls and into a Motel 6. That's why the frame of reference for Motel 6 is a comfortable place to stay. Trust me, it is. Okay. Comfortable place to stay. So the last part of the positioning statement is to describe the most compelling benefit. That's the benefit that will be most persuasive to frugal people within that frame of reference as a comfortable place to stay. What is it that Motel 6 offers that nobody else does and that will be compelling? For Motel 6, our most compelling benefit has been the basis of our communication strategy and advertising for the past 24 years. Motel 6 offers the lowest price of any national chain. That's a pretty compelling notion to our target of frugal people. Not only because of the low price part of the equation, but because of the national chain piece. In this category, people tend to trust national chains much more than the mom and pop on the side of the highway. Because no one wants a Bates Motel experience. So the complete positioning for Motel 6 is to frugal people, Motel 6 is the comfortable place to stay that's always the lowest price of any national chain. Now, if you went through this exercise, if you wrote that equation out and you were doing it either for your business or for your personal brand, who would your target market be? Who would your competitive set be? And how would you differentiate yourself from everybody else in that competitive set to that target market? Now let's move on to brand personality. The brand personality strategy helps us make more of an emotional connection between the brand and a consumer. You know, people often ask, why do you have so many humorous spots on your reel? It's because you're making an emotional connection between the brand and the consumer. We use 4 or 5 human attributes or characteristics that are intended to bring the brand to life by imbuing it with human traits. For 24 years, the personality of Motel 6 has come through our primary medium, radio. Here's the latest spot that brings our brand promise to life through that personality.
Hi, Tom Bodette for Motel 6 here with a DVD edition of my latest commercial. It's basically the same as my other commercials, just with one of those fancy director commentary features. Anyway, for a clean, comfortable room for the lowest price of any national chain, Motel 6 is the only... Okay, well, what I was going for in this scene was a sense of childlike innocence with a subtext of man's eternal struggle against ennui and stuff. I think I got it. Plus free local calls, and most funny story here, I planned to use a swing and tilt camera for that line, but our budget was cut, so I improvised with a shoebox and 2 pounds of bacon to get you going again. It's like I always say, love that. Life is a bowl of cherries, hate that. And happiness is friendly, courteous service. Producers made me say that. I'm Tom Bodette from Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you. I was going to go for a darker ending, something about, not leaving the light on, but it didn't test well.
That particular radio spot recently won the highest award that a radio spot can win in this country, which meant that the writer pocketed a check for $100,000, the top prize. That's pretty amazing. So what personality words inspired him to write that spot and win $100,000, which he didn't share with anybody, I don't think? We use the words friendly, down-home, fun, and commonsensical to attract the target to the brand. And we use brand personality well beyond advertising. With Tom Bodette, we'll leave the light on for you, and the whimsical music, it comes through there, but we use it well beyond there. We infuse other communications with our brand personality. When you get a wake-up call, how many of you have stayed in a Motel 6 recently? Okay, we have some in the audience. Excellent, frugal people. When you get a wake-up call at Motel 6, it sounds something like this.
Good morning, this is Tom Bodette with your wake-up call. Do you ever have that dream where you're at the circus in your underpants? No? Is that just me? Oh, never mind. It's time to get up, though.
And if you're put on hold while you're waiting to make a reservation, you'll hear Tom telling a funny story to entertain you to pass the time. And you'd be surprised how many people say, put me back on hold. I want to hear the rest of his story. That happens time and time again. But brand personality goes way beyond even communications. It's used at every point of contact. For example, Motel 6 uses those brand personality traits as part of their recruiting and hiring regimen. So if you are not friendly, down-home, fun, and commonsensical, don't go looking for a job at Motel 6. That's going to be a screener for you. And just a couple of years ago, we used it to help design the uniforms of the front desk staff. Now granted, it was only a golf shirt, but it was a golf shirt that was fun, commonsensical, down-to-earth, and friendly. Nothing stuffy there. And when you're choosing the right words for a brand personality, whether it's for consumer brand or your own personal brand, just remember that the personality has to be a reflection of the truth, because sooner or later you'll be found out if it's not. The final branding strategy is brand affiliation. Brand affiliation is a critical strategy to craft and execute. But as far as we know, we're one of the few agencies, if not the only one, that really pays attention to brand affiliation and how important it is. So what is brand affiliation? Well, think of it as user imagery. It answers the question, what group do I join by buying into this brand or service? Or for a personal brand, what club do I join by associating with that person or that business? The simple way to explain it is to think of it this way. You see two women walking toward you down the street, identical in almost every way, with this one difference. One is carrying a Walmart bag, and one is carrying a bag from Target. Just with that one visual cue, you will draw conclusions about that woman based on the brand that she chooses to affiliate with. And it's important to control your brand affiliation because that's not something you want other people to control. For Motel 6, the brand affiliation statement is solid citizens smart enough not to throw away their hard-earned money. So those of you who raised your hand and said, yes, I stayed at a Motel 6, that's the club you decided to join by staying at Motel 6. A group of solid citizens who don't throw away their hard-earned money. So what would you want your personal brand affiliation to be? What would you want it to say about people that chose to associate with you professionally or personally? It's something you need to give a great deal of thought to. So let's put all the pieces of a brand promise back together. Brand vision is the answer to why you exist, and it's one of the tougher components, actually, of the brand promise. It really requires a lot of thought because it is a vision. It has to be one of Ria's 5-year plans. It has to extend past today. I gave you two examples, one ill-fated in Underwood typewriters and the other one successful that's endured the test of time. I'm going to give you another one. It's for Joe Gibbs' racing team in NASCAR, and it's brilliantly simple. Their brand vision is make the car go faster. So everyone on that team knows that their job, whatever they do, is to make the car go faster. If whatever they do doesn't make the car go faster, they are not living up to the brand vision. Brilliantly simple. Of the three strategies, a brand's positioning strategy comes first, and it defines the way in which we want the consumer to think about the product, retailer, or service, or the way you want a potential employer, associate, or your community to think about you. The positioning strategy defines three critical selections: the target, the competitive set, and the most meaningful point of difference. The second of the branding strategies is brand personality. In any category, you need a likable personality to establish an emotional relationship between the brand and its loyalists. If you don't like a brand, you're probably not going to spend money for it. In fact, in many categories, brand's personality may be the one and only factor that can consistently differentiate it from its competitors. Think about Southwest Airlines' personality and the personality of American Airlines, or substitute United there if you have more experience with United. They both get you from point A to point B, but they do it through entirely different personalities, and that's critical to their success. The third essential branding strategy is brand affiliation, which we just finished talking about. It's rooted in the observation of the indisputable fact that birds of a feather flock together. Humans, in fact most living things, want to affiliate with beings like themselves, or beings that they aspire to, or beings that they admire. And we believe that all strong brands have to evoke a strong brand image so that users can affiliate with that brand. So we need conviction in the brand's vision, the positioning, the personality, and the affiliation. Collectively, these form the brand promise that produces consistent communications over time. Then and only then can we begin to build a strong brand. Now the next step, you're not done with developing your brand yet. The next step is the development of the touch point strategies. I made the comment about it has to be across all customer contact in all ways, and it needs to be conveyed there consistently. So at this stage of planning, we simultaneously define distinct strategic roles to be played by each of the contact points. Now these are just a few that a normal brand has. And while we identify every point of customer contact and consider what role each of them play in reinforcing the brand promise, they don't all deliver the same message. We think of it as instruments in an orchestra, and it's our role to make them play together to build a brand. In building a personal brand promise, think about the touch points you need to consider. Your resume, your business card, your Facebook page, your voicemail recording. You'll be surprised how long that list is when you think about all the different ways that you come into contact with people and they with you. So after all this, I know some of you are thinking, yeah, that was a TV reel of big brands. Can it really apply to individuals? Is this whole process really applicable to people? And I would tell you definitively, yes. So think Ron Howard, or look at Ron Howard. Maybe. Okay. So there's Ron Howard. So think of Ron Howard, think of Tom Hanks. Each of them has built a strong, powerful, personal brand. Every time you see something associated with either one of those, you know that it's going to be an example of extremely well-crafted creative. It's going to be extremely creative, and it's going to be something of substance. Now, Tiger Woods had a strong brand promise, but he broke it. And anything that doesn't strengthen your brand erodes your brand. Tiger found that out painfully and publicly. And he's trying to get it back, but I think it was Rhea earlier today that talked about credibility. He will never get it all the way back. And that's a shame. That's because his brand promise was broken. So it is possible to build a strong personal brand. And if you don't, you let others control your brand. So let's have a little fun with that theory. Some of my associates and I used a spherical branding process to craft a brand promise for two different celebrities. I'll go through the branding strategies, and then I'm going to ask you to tell me who the celebrity is. And for purposes of this exercise, I'm going to skip brand vision, and I'm going to jump right into positioning, personality, and affiliation. Are you game? All right. The whole spherical branding process, by the way, is highly collaborative. We hold a workshop with all the key constituents in the room, as high up as the CEO, if we can get her. And if we can't, we get everybody else that is going to touch the brand. And based on all the category, company, and consumer information we have, we brainstorm each portion of the brand promise until we reach conviction. And this little exercise, knowing what we know about the celebrity, we followed the same brainstorming process. So the first thing we did is we tackled target. And we asked ourselves, how would you describe the people to whom this celebrity most likely appeals, and with whom she can emotionally connect, which a strong brand has to do? And we came up with definitions like to the pop culture obsessed, or to celebrity watchers, or to people seeking mindless entertainment, all of which were fine. But remember, you're trying to create a target description that is vivid and that will paint a very clear picture of the person that you're trying to communicate with. And none of those options did it quite as well as this one. To pop culture rubberneckers. Now that's a pretty vivid target market description. I wish I could use it for our clients. But to pop culture rubberneckers is the target market that we think this celebrity appeals. So now we get to the frame of reference. With whom does this celebrity compete? If she didn't exist, what other types of celebrities would take her place? Our brainstorm led us to some interesting descriptors. Faux celebrity, self-created celebrity, cultural magnet. Now magnet was a really interesting word, but cultural, maybe giving her a little bit too much credibility. It was when we preceded magnet with tabloid that we felt we accurately captured the category in which she competes. So to pop culture rubberneckers, X is the tabloid magnet that. Now for the most compelling benefit or the one thing that this brand does better than any other brand in the category. We were looking at what is the one thing that differentiates her in the minds of pop culture rubberneckers. And while we generated a number of options here as well, they all circled around the same thing. The one thing that separates this celebrity from other tabloid magnets is that she has achieved the most fame while accomplishing nothing. Now remember, before you think we were being awfully cruel, this may not be the brand promise that this celebrity intended to build, but due to her actions, this is the brand promise she delivers. Now let's add brand personality. Self-created diva. We played with words like egotistical and vapid, but this succession of words seemed to reflect the personality of her brand best. And let me add the club you join if you associate yourself with this brand of celebrity. Celebrity voyeurs. So, we have a complete brand promise. To pop culture rubberneckers, X is the tabloid magnet that has achieved the most fame while accomplishing nothing. Brand personality, self-created diva, brand affiliation, celebrity voyeurs. So, now it's your turn. What celebrity brand do you think we've captured through this brand promise? Paris Hilton. Let's see. Yeah! Paris Hilton. Now, what that shows is she has a very strong brand, right? I mean, you all knew it once we went through all of that language. It may not be the one she wants, or maybe it is the one she wants, but it's the one that she has created through everything that she has done. So yes, an individual can be a brand. And no matter what you do, positively or negatively, it impacts your brand. What doesn't strengthen it, erodes it. So let's take a look at a celebrity who works really hard to strengthen her brand and deliver her brand promise consistently and intentionally. You may or may not like her brand, just as you may or may not like McDonald's or Starbucks, but there's no doubt that you know what she stands for. So let's look at Target. We generated 24 different Target definitions for this celebrity, which gives you an indication of how robust this brand is. We ended up with to women seeking insights that will better their lives. We figured that's the target market for this celebrity, to women seeking insights that will better their lives. For frame of reference, we defined the category that women seeking insights would turn to. If they didn't turn to this celebrity, we felt they'd turn to other thought leaders. So our frame of reference is to women seeking insights that will better their lives. X is the thought leader, that. Well, what differentiates this thought leader from others in her competitive set? Well, we thought that what differentiates her is that she's not a 30,000-foot level sort of thought leader. She's the type of thought leader who influences the small, everyday things in the target's lives. And they trust her to help them sort through all the bumps in the daily journeys of life. So we completed her brand positioning statement with the most compelling benefit. Is America's trusted guide in life's day-to-day journey. So to women seeking insights that will better their lives, X is the thought leader who is America's trusted guide on life's day-to-day journey. Her brand personality comes from the fact that she has everything going for her, and yet she's open. She shares her own trials and tribulations. Iconic, yet approachable, which we articulated as so together, yet so human. And in case you're wondering, the collection of people in the room with whom I was collaborating on this were evenly split 50% women, 50% men. As a matter of fact, the biggest fan of this person was one of the men in the room. The final branding strategy, brand affiliation, was fairly easy. The devotees of this particular celebrity brand are people who tend to look at life as full of hope, who believe that their lives can be better one little adjustment at a time. So we describe the club you join if you're a follower as optimists. So to women seeking insights that will better their lives, X is the thought leader that is America's trusted guide on life's day-to-day journey. Brand personality, so together yet so human. Brand affiliation, optimist. Many of you probably had the answer or are saying it to your neighbor before I even ever got finished with the brand positioning statement. So you can shout it out now. Oprah. Oprah. So raise your hand if you're not a fan of Oprah Winfrey, and it's okay. Okay. So keep your hand up, Lynn. If you're not a fan of Oprah Winfrey, and yet you would describe yourself as a woman seeking insights that will better your life. Okay. That's why knowing who the target is for your brand and who your brand will appeal to is so incredibly important to get right. So if you remember one thing from today, remember this, that whether it's a tough economy or a flourishing one, a brand is a promise. It's a promise that you're going to fulfill certain expectations and then proving that those expectations are justified. How credible is the promise? That's how strong the brand is. So my last question for you is, how strong is yours? Thank you. We have time for questions? Barely? Yes.
I'd like to hear your comments on the new Nike ad with Tiger looking to father. And the second thing is, if Toyota were your client, what would you be telling them they need to be saying in their ads now?
Wow, both loaded questions. The first one is a really good question, and I know that Donnie Deutsch, who is often called on for opinions, thinks it was a stroke of brilliance. Smartest thing that had been done in 100 years of advertising, and I completely and totally disagree, maybe because I'm a wife. But I think it was exploitive of the situation. I don't know how Elin would feel about that. I know they have to sell sneakers. I know that Tiger Woods is a key part of doing that, but I'm not sure I would have been. And I credit Nike a lot for being out there and using really powerful, thought-provoking advertising, but I did feel that that was inappropriate. Just my opinion. I know there are others that disagree with me, but that's how I feel about that. If Toyota were my client, wow, I'd almost want Bonnie Bean to answer this because it's more of a PR thing that I would have advised them differently from the beginning. I don't know if you've seen the most recent news, but this morning Consumer Reports issued an almost non-existent don't buy recommendation on a Lexus SUV. They've got huge problems. And I think the very first thing that I would have done is taken the PR high road and put it all out there, and then they didn't. And that's caused them huge problems that advertising can't fix. Now the one thing that they are doing, which I think is very valid and maybe the only path they have, is to put their own employees out there. Because it reminds you that Toyota is not a monolithic tower, it is people. And it is people that work here in the United States building cars. It's probably the only avenue that they have right at the moment. So I'd probably keep that front and center while I work like heck to make sure that I fix my cars and that PR is out in front of that. Okay. Yes?
In one of the commercials, you had Sam Elliott do the voiceover.
Yes, we did. Good ear.
Did you get to meet him? Because I think he's hot.
I agree with you, and I think he should have been at Bridges of Madison County instead of in Eastwood. But I did not get to meet him. Ed Harris is also a voiceover on here for the Home Depot, and I did get to meet him. He's not hot, but but he's got a great voice. But good ear. That's Sam Elliott on the Ram truck spot. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, we have one. Well, it's interesting. Frontier Airlines was a client of ours years and years and years ago when Tracy Locke had an office in Denver, and it's had many lives since then. I think today they were announcing which brand name was going to survive or whether they were going to create a new one. Did they do that? Frontier. Okay. I think that is exactly the route that they should go. Frontier, I think somebody sitting at my table last night said, it might have been Kay, they better not get rid of the animals. And that is the emotional connection that they have built with all of you. And if they'd gone any other way, I think that would have been a mistake on their standpoint. So now they just have to build the confidence back up that the airline is viable. But I think the decision to stick with Frontier is a good one. Yes? Yes. question. I didn't want to be a secretary, but it was a job, and it paid money, and I was learning something. So I looked at it as an opportunity to learn something in an environment that I thought had great potential for me, and that was the ad agency. In the ad agency, the secretaries were, think Mad Men, the secretaries were all in a row outside the offices of the account people. And I assessed my competitive set, and I realized that what I needed to do was continue asking for more and more responsibility, just like Rhea kept poking her head into her boss's office. I just kept taking on more and more responsibility. And I'd like to say that it was difficult to stand out doing that, but it really wasn't. The other secretaries really, they wanted to do a 9-to-5 job and didn't have any interest in moving on. So it was a small firm, gratefully, and the producer said, hey, you know, I think she could help me out. So he asked if I could join him as assistant producer. So it was really doing the job I was supposed to do and then some. And I think that was important. Yes?
Do you ever recommend that some of your companies change their names altogether based on the name that they've had, maybe it's a weak brand or something of that fashion? And is that something that the Richards Group does?
Yes and yes. And the first yes isn't predicated by the fact that we do the second yes. When a brand is damaged, or for the most part, when two brands like Frontier and Midwest are getting together, neither brings the right association to the party, so you recommend a change that will encompass both strengths, but create a new brand and new excitement. But a company has to be very careful about that because it's very expensive. Starting from scratch is very expensive. But Nations Bank is an example of, gosh, how many banks ago was it? It was Bank of America, it was NCNB and the Nations Bank. We named Nations Bank. But that was out of necessity from the aggregation of all the banks that folded underneath it. So we do name generation, and we do advise clients when we do think that their brand has been damaged enough that a new start is worth the investment. Yes?
Thank you so much for all of your comments. It's been wonderful. Here's the question. For a small company that doesn't have the budget to create the visual impact that you've shown in the presentation today, what do you recommend to that small company when they are determined to be a brand leader?
I think that's a very good question. And we don't discriminate on size for clients. As a matter of fact, as head of new business, I never ask a client what their budget is, because I want to see what the potential of the company is. And it starts with that. It starts with spherical branding. It starts with determining what your point of difference is going to be. I had an interesting conversation last night with Pam Bricker. Where's Pam? About her flower shop. And I asked her the same question, you know, how do you stay in advance of the 1-800-Flowers of the world and the 800-pound flower gorillas? And she had the right answer. She knows exactly what her firm specializes in. She starts with her loyal customers and works out from there. And she looks at technological advances that will help her move her business forward without spending a huge amount of money. There are things that you can do starting out small and looking at a marketing plan to get your name out there. But it starts with what makes you different. Why should people care? Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, Diane. That was excellent, excellent. And I was just informed that the animals did survive. For those of you who are excited about that. I think tying all of these together is great to see, even though we're talking from different disciplines and different components, all of these things fit together in terms of planning, how we can look at them, how they can affect not only business, but our own personal lives as well. So it's great to see all of these speakers here today, and there's more to come yet. I want to thank all of you for coming to the luncheon today. Those who are going to the next session, or who are going to be here for the next session, Deborah Benton will be speaking in about 15 minutes, and we're looking forward to hearing her remarks. And again, I just want to thank all of you for being here today. So, Thank you and have a great afternoon.